Good evening, everybody. We are going to get started. This is the community meeting for Metro's Strategic Transformation Plan, Your Metro, the Way Forward. Thank you for attending. I see we have quite a few folks joining us online, so thank you for coming in, and thank you to those of us in the room. Tonight, we're going to provide an update on the Strategic Transformation Planning process, schedule, what we've been up to the last couple months, provide some preliminary metrics and goals, objectives, and the mission that we've developed with our team to initiate a public hearing early in 2023, and then look forward to the plan adoption later in February. So thank you for your attendance. We'll go through a brief presentation and then have time for Q&A. For those of you joining us online, you'll be able to join and participate with your questions through the chat function. And then also, if you would like to speak your comments or your questions, you can join that way. We also have our ASL interpreters with us today, so if you have a question that you would like to ask them, we can pin your screen to on Teams so that we can interact with you as well. So getting started, just want to talk through how we've developed the strategic transformation plan. The purpose of going through this effort is that we will have a document that guides long-term strategy and day-to-day decision-making of Metro over the next 5+ years. This has been an effort that's been developed hand-in-hand with our board of directors, along with staff and community input, to shape a robust, customer-centric plan that we would like to adopt in 2023. We developed this plan through the several inputs that you see on the screen. Surveys to establish a baseline understanding of customer and staff satisfaction. So we solicited those surveys back in August and September. We look at performance data, how historically we've used data to measure and track progress here at Metro, but also how we share that data and how we share that progress. Social media data, well, we recognize that Twitter, Instagram can be a little bit of an echo chamber. It's also important for us to understand people's sentiment of Metro as it's shared online. Interviews, we conducted interviews with staff at all levels of the enterprise, so from our frontline operators, station managers, our data analysts, and also executive staff and board members. We had several community forums where our staff and leadership were out at bus stops and station platforms talking to customers and understanding their experience on our system in the moment, but also their tenure with the system and how they use Metro to get around the region. We conducted several workshops with executive staff and our board to develop the framework for this plan, and to talk through how input that we collected through data and other measures were included in that framework. We looked at prior studies and reports. It is best practice to update a strategic plan every 3 to 5 years. And it had been a few years since we've updated our strategic plan, so I want to make sure we're carrying on themes that have been noted in past studies as we develop this new plan. And then additionally, also conducting ongoing staff forums. Those are, whether they're large town hall events, enterprise-wide, or department meetings, to understand how staff work together and how they feel as employees at Metro. The Strategic Transformation Plan is to establish Metro's North Star. This document will allow us to focus our efforts that is decided upon, with the entire organization, but also with our community members, with our stakeholders, to ultimately identify what it is that we need to be focused on in the next few years. Everything that we do at Metro is established through our core values, and so that's Metro is innovative, Metro is safe, Metro is equity focused, Metro is customer centric, and we are ethical. We've identified our mission, which is your Metro, connecting you to possibilities. Our vision, which is the region's trusted way to move more people safely and sustainably, and identifying goals that were developed through input from our community and from staff, and which I'll get into in a little bit more detail in a few slides. This next slide talks through the stakeholder engagement process. So just wanted to provide an update on how we've identified the 4 different phases of engagement to develop this plan. But ultimately, it starts and ends with listening to our board, the customers, our community, and Metro staff. So back in September and August is when we started to lay out the framework for the plan and really understanding staff and community needs. And that's how when we did the surveys, when we did interviews, lots of touch points with staff and community. And then moving into the fall through right now, we're starting to play back those emerging themes and how that's developing the content of the plan. To which in January, we'll come back to the board for authorization of a public hearing that will hold in February, and then have another period of official public comment. And then once we collect all that feedback, incorporate it into the final plan, we'll take that to the board of directors for adoption at the end of February. And then once the plan is adopted, this is not intended to be a plan that sits on sorry, I'm getting some feedback. It's not a plan that's intended to sit on a shelf, but rather be an iterative and living document that we, identify ways that we can measure and report our progress against the plan, whether that's through different reporting mechanisms, be it through the board, through online dashboards, and also different mechanisms that we can develop with the community. So data and stakeholder input has led to the 4 goals that you see here on the screen. What we heard from our customers is that they want safe, reliable, convenient, and enjoyable service. And so that is how we came up with the service excellence goal. We recognize that Metro is critical in moving more people and connecting this growing region. And so our regional opportunity and partnership is our second goal. And sustainability, we're looking at that through 2 different domains. So we're looking at it from a financial sustainability perspective, but also an environmentally sustainable perspective. So managing our resources responsibly to achieve a sustainable operating capital and environmental model is important. And then talented teams. Metro is a major employer in the region, and so we want to make sure that we're being the best employer we can be. So how do we attract, develop, and retain top talent where individuals feel valued, supported, and proud of their contributions at Metro? Acknowledge that there's a lot of text on this screen, but this is really to convey the meat of the plan. So as we start, we've identified our goals, our objectives, the mission and vision. How are we going to activate this plan, and then ultimately how will we report out on our progress? And so that's making sure that we're identifying metrics in which we can measure the success against the goals and objectives. And so you see it's divided up by each goal in each column. So we have service excellence, talented teams, regional opportunity and partnership, and sustainability. For instance, our goal metric for service excellence is when we increased overall customer satisfaction across the modes, that metric will, in that goal and objective is achieved. But how do we drill down into the details of understanding how we can achieve those goals? So for reliability, for instance, is looking at how can we report out on our on-time performance for our modes? What's the percentage of planned service delivered? And so this is not an exhaustive list of metrics, but it also is over the next few weeks as we're starting to finalize the plan, we're working with our staff and with the community to identify the specific targets and metrics that will be our targets over the next couple of years. And then on the next slide, how are we going to achieve those? And so looking at, again, not an exhaustive list, but these are draft initiatives that the staff will work to implement to get Metro where the community, where the staff, where the board has laid out where we want to go as an organization. So under service excellence, looking at repairing and modernizing our infrastructure equipment to be a world-class transit organization, implementing our safety management system. Under talented teams, having a strategic workforce plan. Without a strong workforce, we cannot deliver good service. And so these are just some initiatives that really will start to move the needle on goals and objectives here at the organization. And under regional opportunity and partnership, you see that some of these are already underway. For instance, the Better Bus Network redesign is kicked off, and now we're starting to look at options to do something similar with Metro Rail service optimization. So how do we maximize the infrastructure that we have around the region to deliver better service for our customers? And then under sustainability is identifying dedicated, ongoing, regional, non-fair, non-subsidy funding streams, and then also identifying initiatives that we can start to decarbonize Metro. In conclusion, as we continue to develop the strategic plan, we leave with this, hope you take away that the values are really critical to everything that we do at Metro. Working hand in hand with the board to develop and oversee the mission and vision is critical to the organization, and that we achieve that through goals, objectives, and then the initiatives will use metrics, board reporting, and public facing dashboards to be more transparent and to be more active in how we communicate with the community, but also how we better serve service. So with that, we can go into the Q&A portion. Do we have any that have come through online? Okay.
So a common question that we've been receiving is about funding for this plan and how it can be executed with Metro's current funding.
Yes, so while this effort is separate from our fiscal budget, the plan will, do you want to take that down? The plan is to, sorry, I'm having a brain freeze. What was the question?
Sure, sorry. The question was about executing the plan with the current funding.
Right, so this is separate from our budget effort, in that what we need to do as an organization is really define what we want Metro to be and where it will go, and then this will guide everything that we do and help us develop what budgets will look like in the future. So if we identify through the plan the goals that we are aiming to achieve, then we'll use our budget process to figure out how we pay for that. And so that's some of the goals that we identified, or the initiatives that we identified by working through resolving our fiscal issues that are forthcoming, but also decarbonizing Metro to reach other regional goals.
Great, and I encourage everyone in the chat or online to submit your questions, but I do have one more here about metrics. And so how will the metrics that you outlined be used to then rate the performance of staff here at Metro?
Sure. Yeah, so we've gotten that question quite a bit. The metrics that we land on will ultimately define how the general manager's performance is rated by the board of directors, and therefore trickle down to everyone that reports to the general manager's performance will be rated by those goals and objectives and metrics, and so on and so forth, so that everything that we do at Metro, it rolls up into those performance metrics that are laid out in the plan.
So I don't currently see any questions in our chat, but is there anyone who would like to? Oh, we have someone. I will unmute them. 1 second, Andrew.
Yeah, hi. Just checking to see if you can hear me okay.
Yep, we can. Hey, Andrew.
Hi. Thank you for that quick presentation. I am a volunteer with the Sierra Club and the DC chapter, and we have a clean transportation subcommittee. And one of our key priorities is electrifying the Metro bus. So that's something we're pretty focused on. And so I'll be working with a couple other volunteers to submit more detailed comments to the plan. So maybe just a quick confirmation, the comments are due this Friday, is that correct?
So for the next round, we're finalizing the plan to submit for authorization of a public hearing. And so we're collecting feedback right now, and that feedback to be incorporated in the final plan, yes, needs to be captured by this Friday. However, the plan that we're, quote unquote, finalizing right now will go to public hearing in February, and we'll have another official public comment period that closes on February 13th.
Okay, good to know. And yeah, these are just kind of basic questions. do you anticipate the final plan will be more detailed? Is it going to be more of like a report, or the plan itself, it appears here, was at least as was presented to the public, is a PowerPoint?
Yes, absolutely. So this effort of this meeting today was to provide a progress update on the development of the plan. So yes, the presentation today was a high level update of the emerging themes and the identified goals, objectives, and metrics. But the final report that will go to a public hearing and then again for adoption to the board will be a formal plan, and yes, very detailed.
Okay, that's good to know. I think, like I said, I think we'll be submitting more detailed comments, this Friday and potentially likely in the future. But I think just one point that I'd like to highlight is the electrification of the WMATA bus. It seems to us, and I think to a lot of people, that WMATA's a little bit lagging behind, lagging behind in terms of electrifying its Metrobus fleet. Currently, the circulator already completed its pilot plan and is already committed or currently procuring only electric buses. And so it's encouraging that Randy Clark is now the new head, coming from Austin, and seeing some of the work he did there. But it just seems that WMATA needs to expedite this transition to zero emission buses. I think that's clearly a necessity. And we as volunteers have helped the District Department of Transportation procure some federal funding. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be curious to know if WMATA is pursuing federal funding for this electrification effort. But I think overall point being, it's critical. We feel it's critical that WMATA prioritize the electrification of the Metrobus for any number of reasons, from public health to meeting the district's climate goals and really the regional goals, but also just being a leader nationwide in terms of electrification with its, I think it's a top 10 fleet. So I'd just really like to emphasize that point.
Great. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anybody else on?
I do have two questions coming in from the chat. So one of them you touched on a little bit, but could you explain the role of the board of directors in the strategic planning process?
Yes, so how our organization is structured is that we have a board of directors that the general manager reports to, and we, back in August, worked with them through workshops, through one-on-one meetings to just really come together, roll up our sleeves, and identify how Metro should be operated, but like how we want to go forward and how we want to define what Metro should be doing over the next few years. And so that was establishing and agreeing on a set of a mission and a vision, and then agreeing on a framework and methodology to which we would conduct and collect input, so that it was a data driven, but also customer input, staff input, to develop what the goals should be for the organization. And so that was done over the course of a few months and over the course of several workshops and meetings. And staff is putting together the plan and will ultimately be responsible for implementing, and then reporting back to the board of directors on the progress using the metrics that are identified and approved by them. That answer that?
I think it should. We have another question from Commissioner-elect Sheena Berry. She asked, how will this impact residential areas and parking?
I don't have an answer for that. I can get back to you, but I mean, we're just focusing on how we're, operating our current system. So I imagine, where parking exists around the system today, this won't change it anytime soon, but yeah, don't have it. That doesn't really have anything to do with the plan.
Sure. And so Commissioner-elect, if you wanted to follow up, please let me know. We can unmute you. But in the meantime, I do have another question on, this seems to be focused on electrification. Is Metro considering overhead lines for bus electrification?
I do not believe so, but I can confirm. And if we have the contact information for that person, we can follow up with you.
I have another question also regarding electrification. So how does the strategic plan interact with the fleet management plan, which currently calls for additional purchases of diesel and natural gas buses? Also, do we have a status on the electrification pilot project?
To the second question, I don't have a status for this meeting, but we can get back to you on that one. For the first question, the plan is really to, again, be that North Star for the organization and capture the mission, vision, values, goals, and objectives. And then once we agreed upon those goals and objectives, we're starting that draft of initiative. So electrification is an initiative towards a goal. So if we have, our goal of our sustainability goal talks about, meeting the region's sustainability goals. And so there are several ways that we can do that. And electrification is an initiative in which we can reach that goal. So it'll work so that the fleet manager, the asset management plan that includes that transition plan is really supporting as an initiative to reach that overall goal.
I don't see any hands raised or chats coming in, but we could give it a minute.
Okay, well, in the meantime, we can go to the last slide if you don't mind bringing it up and just talk through next steps. Just reiterate that this was a progress update on the emerging themes that we received from our surveys and various touch points with the community over the last couple of months. So as we continue to develop and finalize the plan, we're going to continue listening, engaging with the community. We are continuing to develop and outline those initiatives and finalize those. And then in February of 2023, we'll host a public hearing to collect feedback from the region. And then again in February, we'll present the finalized plan for adoption to our board. And with all that, if all that goes well, we plan to start implementing the plan as early as March 2023.
That's great. I think that actually touches on some of the questions that will have come in, which is how will the community be impacted by the implementation of this plan, but also how can DC residents provide feedback on the plan?
Sure. So I'll answer the second question first, is that we have a website up and we'll, ongoing, you can always send us feedback. And then as we capture it in a formalized process, that will be, through Friday, but then again through January 13th or February 13th, I'm sorry. And then what was the first question? This exactly.
It was also how will the community be impacted by the implementation?
I would actually say that, we want the community to be active in this plan. So, once we have the plan finalized, we'll start to implement initiatives. And depending on the initiative, what the scale of them, the length of them, of how long the process takes for certain projects, we'll be coming out to the community early and often, and then also be reporting more transparently and collecting more feedback as we report out on progress against the plan.
And I think that mostly answers a question that came in from Andrew, also a Sierra Club volunteer. He was asking, how will you be getting back to us? I think that was probably regarding electrification, but you can take that.
Yeah. If you want to put your contact information, or we'll put my contact information in the chat if you want to reach out directly to get feedback if you don't want to put your information in the public chat. Okay, well, it looks like that we don't have any more comments. Again, my name is Kimmy Feldbauer, and the project manager for the Strategic Transformation Plan, Your Metro, the Way Forward. We really appreciate you making time to participate with us today and look forward to your ongoing and active participation as we continue to finalize this plan and start to implement it next year. So thank you, and this will be posted, the recording of this meeting will be posted on our Metro web by the end of the week. Thank you.
Kimmy, just one other thing to mention. So Andrew from the Sierra Club noticed on the website that we are actually keeping these comments open until January 5th. So again, just to clarify, that is comments on the planning, and then there will be another comment period for when the actual report is released.
Correct. And that will be between January 13th and February 13th.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.